Wait, do we have audio? There's a good question.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why did it do this? Why did it? I checked everything before we went live, and it all looked good. And now I gotta quickly adjust things. Sorry.
That's okay. Can anyone hear us? Or is there any volume?
I can.
There should be volume. There is volume. It at least is showing me there's volume. So.
This is good because this gives me time to think of an introduction.
You're good. I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
All right. Hello, welcome, and a very merry unbirthday to you. We're here with Relay Station. We're going to talk about Star Citizen. We're going to mesh, we're going to mash, we're going to do a server mesh. Talking of which, who are you? What do you do? Do you do things? Nakara.
No. Yes, I do things. I do this show. In fact, that's the basis of most of the things I do. I'm Nakara, as you all probably know by now. And Relay. You can come join our Discord below and see us every Saturday and some Tuesdays.
And I heard a rumor that I just made up that the way that CIG are doing the Galactopedia, what they're doing is doing a neural link between yourself and the online page, and they're just copy pasting from your brain into Galactopedia, and that's how they're going to make the most concise Galactopedia knowledge of Star Citizen and its lore between you and Astropub. That's how they're doing it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I wish that I had as much knowledge as Astropub. He's amazing. But
between the two of you, there is not a stone left covered.
How about you, Shiver? How are you doing? Do you do things? Where do you do them? Are there any things that you're doing?
I'm alive. I write a lot of TTRPGs. And slowly but surely they're going to be released over on twitch.tv/Table of Horrors.
Excellent.
Being ill is not constructive to writing.
No, it's extremely unconstructive. Because you know what? You don't feel like writing.
Yeah, you don't feel like thinking.
Yeah. Hey, Sagareth.
Yes. Hello, Sagareth. Dan Grunland. Fastcar. Fastcar? The man, the myth, the legend himself.
He is legendary. He is legendary.
Yes.
Truly legendary.
He's one of those that if you manage to loot him, it would be all orange gear.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So I can't just kick us into show and tell. So...
Wait, does this mean you're planning on killing him so you can loot him?
I'm not planning it. You start planning, things like premeditated get thrown around in court.
It's true. It's all true.
Shit, what's been the highlight so far of Inside Star Citizen for you? I'm going to put you on the spot because I can't remember. We were talking about mining.
Yeah, so I'm going to cop to this. I haven't watched this week's Inside Star Citizen. It's very rare for me to miss it, but I didn't get to it.
All right, so they're doing another.
But we really do need to cover. We do really need to cover 2 weeks because we didn't have a show last week. So I'm gonna talk a bit about that one.
Go for that one.
They were talking about the summit for server meshing. Very glad they were able to do that. I'm a big proponent for remote work, but in this particular instance, given what they're trying to do, and given that a lot of the employees that we're talking about have never met in person because a lot of them were hired over the pandemic, I think getting everybody in a room together to talk about how the hell they're going to invent their way through making server meshing work was a really good idea.
One of the things that I've seen people react to is like, oh shit, this is the first time that they're looking into this. This is the first time they're doing this, and it's like, no. Yes and no. I'm only theorizing.
They actually mentioned in the episode. that they've been having server meshing summits every year for
Oh,
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have thought as well that each team and each department has done work towards server meshing in their own, smaller scope thing. And this is the first time that as a massive server meshing group, like the official title, this is server meshing. We're going full send on server meshing. That's what they mean by
Well,
now we're working on it.
and a lot of times when they had those meetings before, it was all theoretical. It was like, well, when we do these other 17 things, we need to do this thing at the end. Now
Hmm.
we've done persistent entity streaming, which is the last thing that we needed to do before we can start actually building server meshing.
Remember Pillar Talk from 4 years ago? Yeah, this is the last pillar.
Yeah. It's going to be. This is like inventing a pillar though for the first time. It's not going to be easy. I did like that they have a very solid like first step in what they need to do, which is to separate the replication layer out from the game server, which is what they're working on right now. And then once they do that, they can actually start building a static server mesh. But I think at the end of the day, basically what we're going to end up with is they'll get it done. It'll take longer than we want, and it will be a very impressive engineering feat once it's completed. Even like a static server, like
That's
a
Star Citizen.
Basically, yeah.
Basically, it encompasses Star Citizen, and that's actually one of the things I was thinking during the episode. And I'm like, wow, this whole really painful process they're going to have to go through to do server meshing just sort of encapsulates the entire project. It's like, because it's just not somebody. I know we say this a lot, but it's just not something that someone's done before. So, as they said a few times in that episode, they have to invent their way around a lot of it and just come up with new ways of doing things.
I'm going to assume a silver lining, though. Hopefully, doesn't affect Squadron 42 in any way, shape, or form.
No.
So
no, Squadron is
the when for Squadron 42 is unaffected by this work.
I think
came out 2 weeks ago.
I think it doesn't have any bearing on Squadron at all. I do think that is that's good. It definitely means that the company's going to be working on. You're gonna have like wings of the company working on completely different things for quite a while. Because I think a lot of effort is going to go into. They were talking about this in there too. A lot of effort is going to be going into not only the networking people building the server mesh, but also all of the game code being converted to actually talk to the server mesh properly. All the game systems have to be adapted. So, yep.
I know I'm going to have technical questions about Squadron 42 on release, but I don't know if this makes sense. I don't know what those questions are going to be until it's released. Like,
yeah,
will I be able to say, okay, you got an entire Idris in Squadron 42, and we can look at what's going on outside the windows. Asterisk, all this sort of thing. A lot of assuming going on in this. Fuck, did you do that? Is that actual live gameplay that's going on out there, or is this a video file that's being played? Did you cut the corner in that, or did you just somehow get it in there? Either way, how?
My guess. If you wanted to guess, you want to guess?
I'd guess
it's going to be live
because they fucked around this much for it. That's the point.
It'll be live. I suspect what they'll do is that basically, because it's a single player game, so it has to run on anything. And you can't have different servers or anything like that. So I think what they'll basically do is have well, like every game is done, they'll have hidden loads, basically.
Oh
when
yeah,
you
absolutely.
take elevators and such.
Hmm.
I don't think they'll
But
be
that's
able to
still
have the whole Idris plus everything it's fighting in memory at once.
I
see.
Guessing.
I thought they could.
I think they can. Honestly,
think
I'm
so?
gonna say that
That's
they'll
because
be
they're
able
not
to.
player characters. The characters aren't player characters. So that makes a big
Mm.
difference. Sorry, I'm
Well,
sorry,
and
speaking
we can see
live.
them already sort of doing that in Star Citizen, where you can have an entire server in one area, and yes, it gets bogged down, but it's getting bogged down not because of the game, but because the servers aren't great, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
The engine, all no sound on YouTube.
That's weird. It should be streamed simultaneously. Just a second, I'll check YouTube.
That's messed up.
We would have
That's
to
very
restart the
weird.
stream. 'Cause I don't think there's any way to address only one of them.
Yeah.
Well, there's sound on YouTube.
There is? Okay. It must be on your end there, Kaiser.
Oh yeah, that's it. Say it to him because he'll understand that.
Well, he's on Twitch.
I'll type to him.
Oh yeah. Oh no, he's not. He's not.
Oh, he's not. Ugh.
No.
I'm dumb, okay? I'm dumb. Just leave me alone. Look.
Like,
I wanted to say, like, they've already got that in Star Citizen right now to some extent, and like you can get in the Idris during the like when it does the tours at Fleet Week and fly. Like, I don't think they're going to have a problem with that. Honestly, I think that, I mean, space for the large part is empty. All they really have to do is render the ships, and they're pretty efficient.
Now that leaves if that I assume is what they would do as well, but you never know. If that is how it is, then that leaves me with the question of in different mechanical engine terms, whatever. How big is the play area when we are on the Idris?
Huge.
It's the system.
I'd just like to see a cutaway of that. If
I
they
think
could,
he's talking about the ship itself.
There's your Idris.
Well,
not just the ship itself, because if they've got live stuff going on outside so you can see it, it's like, have they taken a small slice of something? And
it's going to be the full system. I have almost no doubt that it's going to be the whole system. Now, they might
they're
restrict
probably not live,
where you can go.
They're probably not live rendering much. Like it's I'm suspecting it'll be streamed in.
I wanted to.
You were going through the system.
I wanted to hop back to the beginning for a second and say a couple of things. Because one, we missed last week because I was depressed, and I just want to say that happens to everyone, and don't think that you're alone if you have times when you can't do anything, because everyone does, including people like me who stand up here and make fools of themselves on the internet. It happens to everyone, and acknowledge it, and you're not alone. And neither am I. And then
exactly,
I missed the beginning of this because IBS is a real thing, and I genuinely think that more people need to talk about and acknowledge IBS as a thing, because it sucks. But yeah.
Would you like me to do the introduction question for you as well?
Yes, please.
Eris, who are you? What do you do? Do you do things? Let's find out.
No, I do nothing. I have a question for you though, Shiver, actually, on that. How much did you practice that? Because you say it very fluently.
That's how I sign off on Table of Horrors every week. I know. BoJack Horseman.
Okay. Because I love it.
What is it? It's a quiz show. BoJack Horseman is, funnily enough, BoJack Horseman, for what it is quite an interesting and accurate depiction of mental illness.
So is Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, don't hurt Winnie the Pooh.
No, Winnie the Pooh.
That's my childhood right there.
I know, but each character in Winnie the Pooh is like a specific type of mental illness.
What's Piglet?
Anxiety.
What's Kangaroo?
That one I don't really know. But anyway, look it up. Anyway, there's something else I wanted to say here though, because we're talking about last week's show, the server meshing stuff, which was really good. But when it came out, a lot of people were angry that nothing new was shown.
Like, what were they expecting?
I don't know what they were. You know what they were probably expecting? They were probably expecting what we're going to see in the next 2 shows or 3 shows of the server meshing stuff, right? Because this is just episode 1 of server meshing. We're going to get more. As Disco says, every show is someone's first show, so there's stuff that they need to cover, and they wanted to give an overview of server meshing, and they're going to jump more into it next time. The thing that I really wanted to talk to I really wanted to talk about this last week and then couldn't. And I've sort of forgot what I wanted to say, but I'm still going to try it because why not? Is a little bit about entitlement. In that, like...
Oh god, he's wading in. Oh shit. Quick, distance yourself now, Nakara.
No, it's... People are so convinced that they're entitled to more detail and more this, and I want this, and I find especially it's happening a lot with a lot of different games. Creative Assembly just had to make a huge statement about it for the people that make Total War. The people on the other end of stuff are people too, and I find that people get really, really angry when something comes out and it's not exactly what they wanted. Like, a lot of people got really angry that there wasn't the specific detail on server meshing that they wanted to hear, and it's like, stop. The more people get angry at this, the more, like, I don't know.
To an extent, there is a level of entitlement. Who is funding this company?
By and large, I don't know, a couple 100,000 people. Yes.
Yeah. And there is most certainly a level of responsibility on both sides of, I have given you money, where has my money gone? This is where your money has gone.
Yes.
My
But at
issue
the
with it
very
is
same
simply
time,
that
you are right.
They do more than
You are
almost
quite right to
anybody.
say. You are quite right to say you can't stamp your feet and say, I want to see this. I demand to see this. There needs to be a bit of give and take, and that but that it's never a simple matter of black and white.
No, it's not. It's not. But Mudtrucker, you've almost got it with the collaborate and listen. I think what it is though is less getting angry about it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like it's when I'm talking about the entitlement, it's the people getting really pissed off and like making accusations and saying and it's like
there's always going to be people like that though, no matter what they do. No matter what.
Oh, I know. I just I hate it. And I see it not just for I know. I just wanted to, I know it's life. I just wanted to take 2 seconds on what little soapbox I have to say that we always have to think that there is someone else on the other side that's actually having to deal with this. And in this case, we know one of those people. It's Jake. Actually, wait, hang on. Send them more. It's Jake. Send them more.
You're right. Don't get me wrong. You're right. And it's not just that. It's absolutely everything. Karens have been a thing for a while, and they're always going to be a thing. If no matter what, if you gave someone a fucking wallet that just vomited money for the rest of their life, someone would go, can I have it in brown?
I know.
I can't change people, but I at the same time,
it's smaller denominations, please.
But I want to change people. I want people to be better.
People are fine.
You can't force it. It'll happen.
People are fine. It's it's the loud ones that are really annoying.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Okay.
not just the loud ones that are annoying, it's the fact that the loud ones that say these things are then backed up. And it's like, why are you encouraging this behavior?
Anyway,
All right, what were you going to talk about there, Dave?
While we're on this topic, sultanas, fucking remove them from the fucking food system. No one likes them. No one eats them. Get rid of those bastards.
wait, hang on.
Currants,
What?
currants, they're just off-dried grapes.
What are-
No one wants them. Get rid of those bastards too.
Sultanas? What are those?
Sultanas,
They're
What are
raisins.
those?
they're raisin wannabes. They're not
What?
even as good
Oh.
as raisins. No one wants raisins.
thought-
There's
I
like
thought the
fucking
sultanas were just a
raisins are
type
what
of raisin.
70-year-olds eat for a treat. That
Excuse
was
me.
a sweet in their day. It's dried fruit. That is not a treat. That is a punishment. You've taken the fruit and then you dried it. What
I
is wrong
like
with
dried
you?
fruits?
You're fucking wrong, man.
I especially like dried mango. Dried mango pieces, great.
That is very different from a fucking raisin or a fucking sultana.
Raisins are good, especially if you get them yogurt covered.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you grow up in the 1950s?
No, But I
Raisins
like
are
raisins.
not a treat.
Raisin Bran is one of my favorite cereals.
Oh,
They just need
I'm
more-
fine with it being a supplement.
the
but
only
there are
problem with
fucking
Raisin
boxes
Bran-
that people, actual grown adults that are supposedly well adjusted and not psychopaths, give to children as a treat, and you're like, this is not a treat. This is not a treat. This is
give
a
those
box
to
of
Lincoln-
raisins. These
I
are
give those to
dried
Lincoln all the time.
grapes.
You know why I give them to Lincoln?
The only kind of out-of-date grape that is a treat is a bottle of wine.
Do you know why I give them to Lincoln? Because it's better for him than him eating a package of gummies.
You see, you are tricking your child. That is horrible. You are coercing your child to eat fruit by making him think they're sweet. Raisins
Welcome,
are a
sugar.
lie.
Shiver, welcome to parenthood. Everything you do is to coerce your children.
Okay, that's fair.
Dried apricots too. I love those. Okay, so there are some questions. I want to talk a little bit more about server meshing, and then talk about this week's episode a bit, and then I don't know, talk more about raisins probably.
Fuck raisins.
Was there anything?
I'm gonna make broccoli compulsory at every meal, and ice cream a compulsory dessert.
I don't like ice cream.
Get that reference? You're as old as me. Congratulations.
Why do you not like ice cream?
By and large, I don't like sweet.
Because he likes fucking raisins. He's twisted.
Right, I forgot. You don't like anything that's sweet. Right, that would do it.
That's why he likes
I
fucking
like-
raisins.
Wait, if they made steak ice cream,
No,
I had a
the
baked
texture would be wrong.
milkshake the other day.
fair enough. But that-
Milkshakes are good. Milkshakes are good, but they
Just
have to
bacon
be
milkshake, that was
more
alright.
milk, less sweet.
You're not right. You're just not right.
I don't like sweet things.
We say that to him at least once a week.
That's this
Yeah, I
year's
mean-
phrase.
I'm not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. So
So
server meshing.
Yeah.
It's funny because I did have parts of the episode where I was like, man, it really sounds like they have a lot of work to do. But towards the end of the episode, they seem pretty upbeat about the challenge. I think they are going to be able to do it. The problem, I think, really is going to end up being the same thing it always is for Star Citizen, and that's time. I don't know how long it's going to take. I think it might take longer than we hope to get the first iteration out there. I did notice Shiver called this out a little while ago, and I thought he was crazy. But then they talked about it on that show. They are separating jump points out as a separate problem from the server meshing thing. So I can see an instance in which they do release without having a jump point there, and just say there's like a hole in space and you are suddenly in Pyro. Which
I'm still crazy, don't worry.
I totally did not expect them to do, but apparently they have decided jump points are a separate issue.
We're
Now,
also
that could also mean that they finish doing everything for jump points way before server meshing is ready.
we're also going to see, like, the first iteration of server meshing is not going to include Pyro. The first iteration of server meshing is going to give each planet its own server mesh and like
Nope,
each
you're
moon
wrong,
its own.
You're wrong. It's the other way around.
Sorry.
The first iteration of server meshing is going to add Pyro.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and it will only be, what was it, 1 or 2 servers per system. One server per system, I think. Like that was like the basic. The whole thing with adding servers for planets later on is it's down the road, a ways.
Yeah.
That would be because they just have to get 2 servers working first. Now,
Right.
I could see a situation where they're like, "Fuck, we really just want to do like a minimum viable product for this thing to see if it works at all, and just take Stanton and split it in half and put 2 servers on
Yeah.
there and see if it works."
I mean,
Um,
yeah, but
but that would
the way
be-
that they're doing it with this, it pleases everyone. It does exactly what they're trying to test out on a tin and gives people a new place as well.
That's the thing too, is that I do agree that I think that's a better option. Also, they do need to get some playtesting on all these things they've built in Pyro. There's a lot, based on what we've seen, there's a lot of stuff they've done in Pyro and no one can play it. So that's a problem in terms of like content, because you don't know if it's actually like, if you need to make adjustments there because you haven't had a playtest. So I do suspect they will go that direction first. But having a server for each planet is sort of that is the next step after they get the initial mesh up. Then they'll try to have multiple servers per system. At least that's what I've gathered. I could be totally wrong. I'm not in the room with them, but that's what I've gathered from watching.
Can we talk about jump points later? Because there's things.
There's a really
with
good
jump
book. There's a
points.
really good book series about that.
Yeah.
Which one?
This guy
Called
named
Jump
Ben
Points.
This guy named Ben Lesnick has been working hard on it for a long
Yeah.
time. Jump points, I think they really don't know exactly how to do it yet. It sounds like a lot of ideas were being thrown around. There's a lot of edge cases there, like as they were talking about, like what if somebody dies while they're falling into a jump point? What do you do with them? Like,
Yeah.
what happens?
From an almost technical standpoint as well, they don't want jump points to be so you're bridging a gap between 2 servers, and when you're in a jump point, you're in server B1 or something like that, rather than rather than in a different entity entirely. They actually want a jump point to be a almost physical space, because they want you to be able to be ripped out of it, because you can fuck up navigating through it. And then at some point, the engine has to say, okay, so you've been traveling in this jump point and you've been knocked out, which puts you here. So they actually need to tie it into, for lack of a better term, a physical location in the universe itself, which is a pain in the bottom, because the easiest way to do it would be like the way Eve does it, of here is your jump gate, click on jump gate, loading screen, you are now in this server. But no, of course, no CIG aren't going to do that. You are actually going to be physically
You're going to be piloting
moving
your way through the
in theory.
jump point.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you need to be tracked by the engine.
You need
so
to be in a
if something
physical
fucks
space
up,
in order
you
to
can
fly.
be thrown out at extreme speed at that. And that all needs to be calculated as quickly as possible, because otherwise you're going to be sat there going,
Well, and
That's an
it
interesting
feels
one
like
too.
they
fucked
might.
up, but come on.
And that point makes me think that they might expand the size of the solar systems at some point as well, beyond the last planet, just to have, like, once they've got
Well, there's
server
another
meshing.
way.
What's that?
They could do the exact opposite, make everything smaller. And then that way, the universe is the same size. But
Honey, I
everything
Shrunk
is,
the
it's
Universe?
how Star Trek Online does it, in fact. if you've ever played Star Trek Online, to give you the impression that this play area is vast, they just shrunk it. They
Yeah,
shrunk
but
you, they
CIG
shrunk the ships, they shrunk the planets, and then they left the play area the same size. If you ever
CIG
played
have
the
a
beta
massive
as well,
play area.
yeah, but there's no such thing as an unlimited play area.
No.
No, but once they have server meshing, they can probably expand the size of the solar
They
system
could.
out
They could.
more
Yeah.
to give
I
you
actually
more
think-
room to fly off into nothing. Because I think the idea is if you fail out of a jump point, you could be anywhere along this path, but you want lots of that to be far out so that it's like you screwed up and there's a bad side to it, right?
I do think Mud Trucker might be right. They might just, to make their lives easier, if this makes their lives easier, they may just put the jump point in its own server.
They could. They could.
That would solve the problem.
Would they? Would they?
Or they can create like basically a big, worm-like tube that runs down the jump point of playable space. Or they can just say fuck it eventually and go, if you hit the wall of the jump point, you're dead.
Yeah.
That's the
this
end
is
of
probably
it.
the exact conversations that they're having, and
Oh, totally it
They're
is.
like,
They're like, what do we
need a
do?
more exotic solution to this than just tunnel.
Yeah. The problem is it doesn't make sense to spit you out unless there's some like is there a way to fix that? Like, is there a gameplay way to actually like do anything once you spat out in the middle of interstellar space? If there isn't, then it doesn't matter. And you can just kill people when they hit the wall.
That's why I think they need to expand the size of the systems a little bit so that you can be spat out at the far reaches where it might be difficult for you to get back, but you still could. And then once you hit that, like the end of that system, that is where it transfers you to the next system. And then if you get spat out there, well, you're spat out at the outer reaches of that new system, right? It's still just a midpoint, but it's just
not to be a
shifted.
spanner or anything, but is that how they're going to make space work? Like, let's say you've got Crusader system here, and you, just for argument's sake, the Pyro system is next door. Is it an instantaneous change, or that's not how space works itself? There are great swaths of fuck all. It's like going into a Toys R Us now. It's nothing.
That's great.
Bye.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, Mud Trucker. I don't know if they will put an interstellar space in there. It really is up to Chris Roberts, basically, and whether he wants there to be one.
Can't see yours, sorry.
Mom, get over here.
That looks great. I like that. It's a good look.
Cass got younger.
That was amazing. Oh, dude. Hey, Darge, how's it going?
Mimes.
Mimes.
Watch out for the mimes.
Watch out, mimes.
Oh, jeez. That's amazing.
Sorry about that.
No, why would,
basically,
would you
they've
be
got a lot
sorry?
of options.
You provided us entertainment. Well, actually, they provided us entertainment.
Yeah, they've got a lot of options.
Well,
they haven't got a conclusion yet. We haven't got a conclusion, and we could theorize. They could theorize, and all we're going to do is wait and see. Really.
So the problem is, Shiver, that you just threw a spanner, and now I have to spanner that spanner.
Okay, I'm all for
and
that.
I don't know how. I need like.
Don't you call it a wrench?
Yes, I do, but I need like a map. 1 second.
He's going to draw a map.
A map. He's bringing an artifact from the past, a physical map.
I want to see if any of these work. Here, this one works. All right, we'll just take this and pretend that each of these planets is a system.
Okay,
Right?
Cool.
Did
I
you
like
just
this.
call that a map?
Yeah,
no,
I needed
don't
a
think
map.
you
I'm
did.
going to use this as a map.
Okay, cool. I like
It's the
it.
map of the solar
right.
system.
So what's
What else
going on?
would you call it?
Show us.
Okay.
Show us what you're talking about.
Well, what I'm talking about is, like, let's say we're here in Neptune,
Uh-huh.
and we're going to take a jump point up here to Earth.
Uh-huh.
So what we've been talking
Terrible
about
place.
is you come to the edge of Neptune, beep, boop, beep, boop, you're at the edge of Earth.
Yep.
Right? But what CIG have to figure out is, if you look at the star map, you leave Neptune, but then you're sort of in Saturn's area, and then you're sort of in you're crossing all of these other systems before you get to your destination. So if you go out at any point in that jump point, if it's like you might be in a completely different system that you had no intention, and they don't have this problem when they only have two
That
systems.
actually might. You know what? That might be in it. That would be cool. I like
Right?
that. Okay, I'm
When we get
totally
stranded.
I'm totally gonna make a D&D reference here, and I apologize because that's just where my brain's been at for like last few weeks. But sometimes during teleports in D&D, well, not sometimes, you roll a percentile dice, and you just
Yeah.
kind of, if you roll a bad roll, you kind of just go wherever. And it can have some interesting results. I think that might be interesting gameplay. Is if you fail a jump, especially really badly, maybe you just like are spat out at the very edge of some random system.
Well, and I think it
that might
should
be
be.
interesting.
I think what they essentially need to do is they need to take the star map, because they have the star map and they have where all the systems are on that star map, and basically take a ruler, right? We're going from this system to this system. Take a ruler. Oh, you fell out at, 7 inches along the ruler. That's right here. Oh, that's closest to this system. You're in that system. That's where you fell out.
Mud Trucker
Like
does
you-
raise a very good point. Although I suppose Mud Trucker
think-
says, "Can you game it so you evade bounty hunters?" It's like, yeah,
It's
yeah, you could.
possible.
And at first I thought
But-
that's bad, but no, hang on, no, it's not, because they don't
It's
know where
good.
they're going to end up. They could end up completely
That's the
fucked.
thing.
They could end up
I
in a
don't-
really shit end of town like Canada or something
I don't
like
think
that, and have to
I don't
find their
think
way
it
out.
should be. I don't think it should be as straightforward as like look at the map, and if you go out in the first half, you end up in this system. I think it should
I'm
be
simplifying.
slightly randomized, because you're going through, essentially using sci-fi terms here, subspace, right? So I think, and you don't really know where you are at any given time. So I think there should be a somewhat randomized chance of either you die, your ship just explodes from the forces of hitting the side of the wormhole or whatever it is, or you get shot out into one of 7 nearby systems. And
Have they
I
That would
have
be
to
interesting.
say,
about the science fiction behind the methodology of travel? Like, what kind
yes,
of science fictional faster than light travel is this? Is this like
It's a
holding
wormhole.
they have.
points?
It's a wormhole.
So it is. It's they're going
So
with
it's
the
a
full
conne-
wormhole.
it's-
You
it
are
has to be-
physically moving in the wormhole. That's basically
You are
a
passing
shortcut.
through a colon that connects to points in space.
Yeah.
And if you get shot out of the colon in the middle of it,
you might end up in the kidney. No.
Passed by an intergalactic
Oh.
raisin.
uh, I wanted to say two things. One is, Eric, you made a comment earlier about generalized science fiction. I was like,
Mhm.
The Hichi Saga. It's a science fiction series by, actually, fuck, who's it by? 1 second. It's a novel series by Frederick Pohl.
Okay.
And
Hichi Saga.
I'm a fan of his
Hichi.
dances.
Heechee, Hichi.
Cool. Got it.
Ancient race, humans discover a giant station with hundreds of ships, but they can't figure out how to fly the ships. they hit a button and the ship takes them somewhere, and nobody
Okay.
knows where any of the ships go. But like and a whole bunch of people don't come back, but someone comes back with all of these artifacts that make them a multi-trillionaire because changes everything, and then people want, like, it's a gold rush essentially.
Mhm.
But
This
with
is
like,
Event Horizon with extra steps.
I don't remember Event Horizon. Anyway, Hichi Saga, really good. Read it if you're bored sometime. I really, really love it. It's one of my favorite sci-fi series. The other thing I wanted to say was, as we're talking about this whole colon that shits you out somewhere, possibly randomized,
Mhm.
and this is a question I ask about Star Citizen all the time, and I still don't have an answer. Because once Death of a Spaceman is in,
Yep.
is this good gameplay? Is this fun? Or is this just punishing your players for playing the game?
I don't think it's bad gameplay at all.
Are you punishing someone for not being able to make it through that jump hole successfully? Are you punishing someone for screwing up? Are you, like...
You're punishing people for taking risks in games, which you should.
Yeah.
To what extent?
Yeah. Is it a punishment, really, though? It depends, because only certain... I'd imagine that to a point it solves itself, because hopefully you're not going to be trying to go on this stupidly long jump point in an Aurora, because then you're kind of asking for trouble. Let's face it. But if you're in a Carrack and you're on this stupidly long jump point, you're almost self-sustaining. This is what the Carrack is for.
But we don't know yet.
Suddenly you're playing Star Trek Voyager.
But fair. But we also don't know. There are different size jump points. Like, there are lots of jump points that a Carrack will not be able to fit through.
Yeah.
There are lots of jump points that, well, look, I'm in a Cutlass and I need to go through this jump point. I'm in a Cutlass Red. I'm doing some medical stuff.
It almost solves itself to a degree, because I would hope that they're not going to make single seat size jump points span half a fucking galaxy and run the risk of you actually completely screwing yourself up. That would be bad. But if it's a large enough jump point for you to put in a large enough ship, and then you just get in the arse end of nowhere, which we're going to call Ottawa, then fair, that's what you're built for. But if you're in an Aurora, and you could still do it out of a choice, use your Aurora on this stupidly long jump point, and you get thrown out into the arse end of Vancouver, that's consequences. That's not bad game design. That's consequences.
And I disagree.
I'm shitting on Canada.
As we continue this conversation, also remember that they've repeatedly committed to both methods of jump point travel, automatic and manual.
Yes.
If you can pay some UEC to do it automatically and you won't die, then
yeah,
I think I don't think it's a problem. I think it's just risks of gameplay. If you want to do it manually, it's up to you.
Risk versus reward. And if you are, a skilled enough player in this kind of gameplay, then you're in fresh virgin hunting territory. This is now your place to pillage and ransack however you so wish. And eventually, if you find a jump point that's stable back, you can be like, hey, want to buy a jump point location?
Totally. I just worry. I worry about it a little bit. I think that there's, and this is going to sort of segue into our next discussion, because, well, you'll see. But I think that there are a lot of gameplay elements that they have to explain to us to make sense of this, because we're talking about getting spat out on a random system, right? Okay, so what if you end up in one of the systems that has no human presence?
Paradise.
There are no stations.
you have a couple options. You can ask for help. If you have a good enough ship, you can just make it out. Kind of up to you at that point.
You've got a building system to a degree. You just
But
land
that's
on
what
a
we
planet, start building yourself up. You marry
can
one of the
Castaway.
locals with.
It's now you're playing Castaway, the
yeah.
real game.
no.
You marry one of the locals with 3 legs and 3 arms. It's fine.
This is actually where I wanted to get to this, because if we switch to, let's go back to this and let's where did that go? Just a second. It's here somewhere.
Here's one though. Just a quick one. If that happens, right, and you land your ship and you do decide to put a bullet in your brain in game, or you die accidentally, you respawn in a hospital, probably back in known space. All your stuff is over there. Do you have a bookmark to this place, or is that completely gone? Is that going to respec, or you get the insurance payout for that?
Do you get the insurance payout? The insurance company would be like, but see, you weren't in a covered territory when you exploded, therefore we won't.
Yeah.
The questions that I have, actually, like, I wanted to talk about this because of this mining video. So this week's ISC was all about mining and how they're trying to rebalance mining. They made a whole bunch of changes to mining a long time ago. They sort of were like, yep, mining is in a great place. We're going to sort of leave it for now. And it's been, a year or whatever, and now they're like, okay, well, here's some tuning we are doing to mining. So they're sort of reevaluating where mineable rocks are in the system and how much it takes to mine the rocks and how effective the hand gadgets are and how effective like multi-crew mining is. And they're trying to balance things so it makes sense. They're adding some new attachments. They're adding some new materials, some that can only be mined in ships and some that can only be mined in FPS. So there's a reason to FPS mine now, which there never was before. So they're balancing mining. But there's one point in this episode where they say a specific thing. I just need to see if I can find it. There it is. So they want to figure out resource gathering to future-proof for the introduction of crafting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've talked a bunch about how we know that crafting of some sort is coming. Crafting's already in the game a little bit, with the ability to create a couple of things out of the salvaged material from salvage.
Yep.
A lot of the discussion that we're having on server meshing, and like we've sort of left server meshing to the side, and we're talking entirely about the colon and where you come out in the colon. Where you're going to perforate that colon, because depending on where that colon gets perforated, you can be in a really bad situation or an even worse situation. What?
Yeah, there's not really a mild colonic perforation. Doesn't really exist.
This
a lot of
tracks in quite well with something I just noticed in a video called Had a Night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, had a night. Yeah. Perforated colon. Had a night.
Had a night. Yeah. A lot of what I think we're talking about and where you might just get spat out is going to depend on No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is a space exploration. Yep. Go. No Man's Sky. Space exploration. A billion systems, right? A billion unique systems or whatever. Every single system has to have a couple basic materials. Every single system in that game has the fuel that you need to power your ship. It has the stuff that you need to repair your ship. And I think that Star Citizen's going to have to do the same thing. every single system in Star Citizen is going to have somewhere that you can get quantum fuel, somewhere that you can get stuff to repair your ship. Because if you're marooned anywhere in a system, you're going to have to be able to get stuff. And I think that I personally am sort of worried with how fuel works, that you might run out and just be stuck and have to
Ask for help.
like ask, but you can only ask for help like I don't know how exploration is going to work. Like, but if you're in a system that no one's ever been in before and no one knows where it is because you got spat out of a jump point and discovered a new system,
don't go into an unexplored system without fuel.
Yeah.
if you got spat
the
out of a jump
pre-thought,
point into it
though.
randomly, like
It's been pre-thought though, and Mudtrucker has pointed out is the solution is you make the fuel source something that is incredibly common in space. Hydrogen,
quantum fuel is common,
for
yes,
instance.
but every ship is going to have like, if you're in an Aurora, you can't scoop your own quantum fuel.
Actually, I don't think
How did the Aurora
They're
get in
very-
this horrible
they're-
place in the first place?
there are very
It-
few.
Eric?
There
Sorry,
are very few ships that can actually make quantum fuel. A lot of ships can scoop hydrogen for their thrusters.
Right.
There are a couple ships that can make quantum fuel.
I'm just throwing out a complete hypothetical that might not honestly be possible in the game because we don't know what's possible. But let's say you're in an Aurora and you're like, I'm going to manual this jump point. How hard can it be? And then you get spat out of the colon midway through and you end up in a uncharted system, and that's it.
I
Your game's over.
gotta say,
that's cool.
I gotta say,
Consequences.
maybe you die. Like that's
Yeah,
generally what games tell me about that situation.
That is risk
Like,
versus reward.
If I'm in Elden Ring and I'm at the very beginning and I'm naked and I'm running across the continent just trying to get somewhere and I die, that's on me. That's
Yeah.
on me.
Yeah, simple as that. You need the right equipment for the right job, and
Yeah.
you could have brass balls, but still, if it's a risk that you just have to accept. You are starting this venture into this jump point to take you into unknown, or that could knock you into the unknown in an Aurora. There comes a point where you're just like you kind of you just gotta man up, man.
Everyone's
You're
But
dead,
everyone's
man.
going to start their journey everyone is supposed to start their journey in an
Yeah.
Aurora. We're just all buying better
Totally.
shit because we have problems. Runecaster, I mean, you're right. And I'm really excited actually to see the overhaul to fuel and flight and all of that. Cannot wait. It's going to be great. Basically what I'm saying is there are, like, we're talking about one specific thing, which is the server meshing and the jump points and how they're going to work together. And what I'm trying to get at is we don't have enough information about other systems. We don't have enough information about how fuel is going to work and fuel gathering and crafting and survival. And I wanted to make a list of all of the different mechanics in Star Citizen, right? Like
Like
mining-
proposed mechanics.
yeah, everything that's been proposed. Like, we know there's mining, we know there's salvage, we know there's repair and refuel, cargo hauling, bounty hunting. We know there's going to be farming and science and exploration and like creature
Manufacturing.
manufacturing, and like, but we only know honestly about a very few of them. We've got mining in a somewhat complete form.
Mining
thought it was somewhat-
furthest along. Yeah.
Mining is the furthest along, and they're just announcing a huge overhaul to mining, right?
Oh,
And then
they'll rehaul mining probably 5 more times before the game comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to keep rebalancing them.
yeah, I just
Salvaging, same, and everything they can.
it's just insane about how many complete unknowns there are with all of these systems that we don't know how these are going to work together. They're talking about in this mining video about how like they're going to put bits of material at different spots, so not every mineral is going to be found on every planet. They'll have like copper on Microtech and iron on somewhere else. But and as part of that, they're talking about how like for crafting, you're going to have to go to the places that have the minerals you need. And my first thought there was
trade.
you buy it. Yeah. My first thought there was, well, I don't want to mine. I want to manufacture this stuff, which means I'm going to try and buy this from the people that mine, which is going to make mining lucrative. Like, it's just...
Well, that's what we see with Tony Zervek's presentations too, right? With
Yes.
how the whole back end is going to work, is it will constantly have the universe simulation doing all of this stuff as well, mining resources, moving them around, trading them, selling them. Prices go up and down. Pirates eat people. You know.
Yep. The thing that it leaves the question mark of, though, is are players going to be responding to the economy, or is the economy going to be responding to the players? Because it's a
Ideally-
1:10 ratio, isn't it?
Ideally,
But
both.
you should never underestimate the craziness of players.
Ideally, both.
I think their hope is that players will respond to the economy. I think what they want to avoid is like a couple of years ago, this is actually many years ago now, God, but Cass and I wanted to play World of Warcraft together because Cass used to love WoW and I thought WoW was okay, and we were like, okay, we're gonna play WoW together, and we booted up WoW and started playing it, and we were looking at like getting into crafting and, you know, collecting the materials and stuff. And there are, because you can only get like 2 things, you can only pick like tailoring and some, like each, you can only do so many things, you can't get all of the materials, and there comes a point where you have to buy the materials. And what we found was the auction prices for those materials, because it was just players, the auction prices for like not very good, like low level materials was like hundreds of gold pieces. And 1, we couldn't afford that shit, but 2, it became more lucrative for us to just do our part of the crafting and then try and sell that. Like, it broke the experience. It being a player only economy completely broke.
It's a big problem. That's why that's the whole basis behind having players only be 10% of the population, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is there's only so much effect they can have.
Yeah.
The whole
But
rest of the
there's-
economy runs without them.
Yeah, Runecaster,
How is it going to respond, though, when a player just wants to cause some chaos and
Mhm.
starts selling off raw materials at a severe undercut? Just because he can. Will the
factory-
economy respond to that? Or
The factory
The
will
fac-
buy. There's only so much of that material that a player can provide.
True,
The
true.
factories will buy all of that material up and will process it, and then the price will probably drop for a bit, and then it will stabilize again.
the factories will
um,
buy all. Here's what's going to happen: the factories are going to buy all that they need at a really low price, and they'll be really happy, and the player's going to get nothing for his work, and the price of the stuff is going to drop for a couple of days, and then other players are going to notice what's happened. They're going to put bounties on this player's head for people to go and kill him and
Huh?
punish him for what he's done.
what he did was not illegal.
No,
So
but player bounties are going to be a thing,
pirates,
so you can still do it.
Yeah, but
you can
so
still do it.
What? But this guy's just going to have a bounty on his head. He's going to stay in secure space, and he's just going to keep racking up that bounty. And then that leads to the question of what's going to happen when that player says, "All right, I've got a fucking nice bounty on my head. I'm going to fly myself out into this safe, secure, unknown zone, get my ult out, kill myself, claim the bounty money, cha-ching."
I break
I
this
played
story
Eve.
out.
I'm sorry.
I break
I played
this
Eve.
story out all the time because I love it. But my friends and I a long time ago played a game called Puzzle Pirates, and one of my friends saved up enough to buy a weapons store, and your weapon like to make where cutlasses were made or swords were made, and the way that worked was you paid people to work in your shop, and it was all player based. People had to work in your shop, and you would pay them for the number of like tasks they
This
did.
is Commander Llama being Commander Llama, isn't
This is
it?
Commander Llama being Commander Llama, 100%.
Yeah.
And what Commander Llama did was say, okay, I'm going to pay people really well, and I'm going to sell my stuff for really, really friggin' cheap, which means every single player is going to want to work here because it pays better than everywhere else. And every single player is going to want to buy here because I sell cheaper than everywhere else. And he did. And he completely broke the entire economy of the game to the point that he bought a ship that at that point only developers had because nobody else could afford that. He bought the biggest ship in the game, and the developers, it was still in beta at this time. The game was in beta. The developers actually messaged him asking him, hey, you've broken our economy. We need you to stop.
Well, that's tough shit. The developers broke the economy by letting him be able to do that.
But that's what happened in a players only economy. What's going to happen my theory on what's going to happen in Star Citizen's economy is, yeah, you might have one person that can sell a shit ton of shit in one system, and the stuff in that system is going to be really cheap, and the other systems are going to completely ignore it because no one player, I think the idea of it being 10 to 1 NPCs, no one player is going to be able to sufficiently affect the universe economy. They might be able to affect a system economy. Even
I can see an org.
I can see Test
being dedicated, just going, you know what? Let's fuck this place up.
Yeah. But I don't think they can.
No, they could probably do it for like a week. But if you expend all of your resources to do it for a week, and then you don't have any stuff left, and then it's over, and
it goes back to normal.
The back end takes over, and it just all rebalances again. The problem with player run economies is there isn't a rebalance. There isn't anything. How do you rebalance it? It doesn't work. Because there's no consumption of materials by the universe itself. Because the Star Citizen economy has this big industrial base that is not player owned. I think that should provide stability to the economy. Now, am I saying that the economy of Star Citizen will never be broken? No, because it will. That's how computer anything works. Somebody will find a way to break something. I just think it'll be more resilient than most other games.
I also think that CIG will be watching it closely enough to be able to, like, okay, you've got, let's say there's someone that's found a really lucrative mining like asteroid mining spot, and they're mining the hell out of it and saving up and then like selling it all. Well, there's a risk in mining, right? And they can either tune what you're mining, or they can tune, all of a sudden the simulation is supposed to account for things like if you're mining and you've got an entire org mining in this spot, then all of a sudden that spot becomes really lucrative, either really lucrative for pirates to try and kill these people, or they just mine it out and there's nothing left. Like there's just, I think there's a lot of built-in.
So I think the conclusion, the definitive solution conclusion that we can all come to is we want to work for Commander Llama.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
100%.
I mean, that's always been my conclusion.
Commander Llama is the best. Also,
the secondary conclusion is we would like more multi-hour talks by Tony Zervak.
Yes. Commander Llama does not wear a hat. I don't think I've ever seen Commander Llama wear a hat, actually.
I think I have seen him wear a hat.
I'd be disappointed if he wears a hat. He's got such a beautiful face. should not be hidden away.
It's true. Commander Llama is also built.
But Carl.
He is.
He's friggin' built. Commander Llama is one of my oldest friends in the real world.
Ugh. Cancel
dude.
my sub to that place.
I wish I could, but there's a family that seem to live there. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, after the display earlier, I'd be pretty tempted to cancel now.
No, that's what makes me love them.
Honestly, the most surprising thing is that you didn't do this show with a face mask on as well, because that is very much the Eris style.
They only bought 2.
Oh, that's mean.
If believe me, if they had bought a 3rd face mask, I'd be in a face mask right now.
Oh, well, we know. No one is doubting that.
Oh,
my memory's fuzzy. I thought I saw him wearing a hat at CitizenCon in 2018, but
no. Commander Llama doesn't like hats.
I'm wrong. You know what? You know what the funny thing is? Probably the reason I made that mistake. I don't usually wear hats either, but I was wearing a hat in Texas because Texas is trying to eat Canadians.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Shiver.
We don't work down there.
Shiver, to give you some idea of how uncomfortable I was for the first day or two. It was -10 Celsius when I left to go on that trip. Right. I landed just before midnight in Houston, and it was 39 degrees Celsius and 100% humidity at almost midnight. I almost died.
Fun fact, I don't like Texas.
There were parts of that trip I loved.
Yes.
The weather was never part of what I loved being there.
The food, phenomenal. The people, amazing. The NASA's the
Johnson Space Center.
Johnson Space Center, so good. That trip in the Tesla, awesome. CitizenCon,
It was pretty good.
It was good.
It was pretty good. The weather, not something that was on top of our list. No.
All right.
It's freaking hot.
There is not enough time for us to hop into the game. And we've sort of covered everything that we heard in the last 2 weeks. So, does anybody have any questions? I would love some questions.
Why do we still sell raisins?
So
we established they're horrible.
Shiver, here's the deal, right? Not all grapes can become wine, and not all grapes can become grapes. So some grapes have to become not grapes, and that's how we end up with raisins.
You know what the problem with grapes is?
Sounds like an excuse.
You know what the problem with being Canadian is?
There are several. Mostly it's that we're right next to the US, but what?
I mean, that's a big one. One of my biggest problems right now is I have 2 children. And I'm really trying to be like, I know it is. Believe me, I know. I'm trying to be like a responsible, good parent. Mac is 11 and she's in the other room watching Stranger Things. She's been playing video games. Link loves Marvel and Star Wars and wants to grow up to be the Mandalorian. I'm teaching my children the things that matter in life.
Yeah, of course.
Mac loves D&D. Mac loves Dungeons and Dragons, and some of the first books that she read there's a series of youth Dungeons and Dragons primers.
Oh, that's cool.
That run through the bestiary and items and all the character classes. It's like the DM's guide, but for kids. Great little, really, honestly, really cool. So I'm teaching them things in life that matter. Mac wants to be a black hole scientist when she grows up.
Amazing idea. I like that. I'm fully in
Like-
support of that.
Like the pride I have is,
Astrophysics. Go
Yeah.
do it. Go Mac.
Yeah.
You can do it.
but as a parent that's trying to do the right things, I'm supposed to feed them healthy things like fruits, like raspberries and strawberries and blackberries and grapes. And I'm pretty sure I spend more on fruit than I do on the rest of food that we buy combined.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't grow on trees.
Fuck, that was good.
A thing of strawberries that lasts 2 days is $7.
Mhm.
And it lasts 2 days.
That's problematic.
A thing of grapes that'll last a half a week is like $9 or $10.
Oh, grapes are so expensive. Oh,
They're so
you thought about-
expensive.
Just
So,
saying
Shiver-
bacon is fruit.
This is why I feed them raisins, because raisins are cheap.
You're
Darsh,
part of the problem.
Darj, believe me, I know that fruit is seasonal. The problem is I have children and they need to eat healthy things like fruit regardless of the
solution-
season. The
The
solution is kill them.
solution is give
I
them
mean-
durian fruits.
What are those?
Done. Make them eat them outside. Done. Problem fixed.
Oh. I don't see any questions. I'm really sad. Yeah, Sunmaid. Moved to Hawaii.
man, I remember those vividly from when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Um,
they are massive issue. They are. Look, you pay money for this tiny little box, and you give
It's
this
got,
to
like,
your
12
child. And
raisins
your
in
child
it?
is like, it must be amazing. It's in a tiny little box, and I have been gifted this by a responsible adult. I bet this is amazing. And then you get a mummified grape. A fucking grape that is so mummified, the British keep trying to take it to the fucking museums.
oh man, that's hilarious.
That is not a sweet. That is not a treat. That is just
Okay,
wrong.
I want you to have a slate makeup session with raisins. What is one use for raisins that you like?
Okay, Tipitarius, I have to ask, what is the drama cycle now? I don't know that I know what it is now.
I've
Ra-
basically decided
Raisins have no
to-
place on the food triangle.
My biggest raisin take is that there need to be 3 scoops of raisins in every box of Raisin Bran. It should be 3 scoops of raisins in Kellogg's Raisin Bran, not 2, because
That's a
Who
hot
was this
take right there.
podcast
Is
like when
not
I wasn't
enough.
here? What did you talk about then? We're tackling the
Basically,
real issues: sultanas
sorry.
and currants and raisins.
I'm sorry, Shiver, but this has been the show for years. This is it. This is how it goes.
this is
I know you
us.
probably forgot while you were gone, but this is it.
Well, we are part of the Bacon Master Race. Bacon, steak. If it didn't have a pulse, it's not food.
Well, carrot
Let's
juice
have
is
a-
murder.
And that's a real crime.
It is a real crime.
Greenhouses, and prisons for slaves. Yes, your compost is a grave. Let the vegetables go. It's time to
Yes,
stop
Dad.
all this gardening.
If it didn't have a pulse, it's my food's food.
Take up macrame. Let's call a spade a spade.
I love spoken
opposed to
word,
calling it
arrogant. I like spoken word versions of arrogant worm songs.
Carrot juice constitutes murder, and that's a real crime. Sorry, I'll stop.
This is what happens if you eat raisins.
Apparently, yeah, yeah. I like that. I'm a vegetarian by proxy.
Tipitarius, we did sort of touch on the meshing debacle just by saying that it's sort of dumb that people get mad at CIG.
I don't
When
know
they
why
Don't
there's a
drag us
debacle.
down
It's
with your
totally fine.
condemnation, Eris.
God damn it.
Yeah,
Oh man.
we don't understand it,
Never
and
is.
it's silly. And I honestly loved the meshing episode. I thought it was fantastic content. I was
Yeah, it's good.
like, I as we've just discussed, have other things in my life that concern me now. That, to be honest, I didn't when I first started this Star Citizen journey. I really, really liked the introduction part of the multi-part episode because it was a really good I mean, the last time they really talked about server meshing was a while ago. So yeah, I think they should do a nice, good talk about here's server meshing. Here's what we're doing on it. Here's what it's going to mean. Here's where our current thinking is. I love it. It's important.
It's how a thing is structured, beginning, a middle, conclusion.
Yeah.
But you don't have to, you don't have to watch the introduction if you feel it's a waste of your time. Why?
Yeah.
Done.
Yep.
And okay, you can be angry about it, but
Darj,
I can also not give a shit.
Darj, I hate, genuinely hate that you're 100% right. Yeah.
But the thing is, people like that are gonna get angry, and they have every right to be angry because that is a person's right. And you're not going to change that. Someone's going to be angry about something every day. Great. We love anger.
I have decided it's not worth it getting angry at CIG for things. It's worth saying, hey, no. I think this thing could be better. Hey, what about this? But there is no point getting angry at them because you know what happens when you're angry at them? You might think that they're listening to you more. But what's actually happening is they're saying, holy fuck, this person's an asshole.
There's no point getting angry at CIG about things. They didn't invent raisins.
Exactly. So there's a good post from Xylo this week. Looks like it was 8 days ago. Sorry, not quite this week. About this topic. And this is like honestly, his post like perfectly sums it up. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's 3 paragraphs. Basically, he says the takeaway shouldn't be that they just started working on server meshing. They didn't. They've been working on it for years. This was a basically organizing work for, the time going forward. And as he points out, a look at the public roadmap would show that there have been 6 teams on jump points and 19 teams on server meshing over the last several years. So yeah, basically it's episode 1 of multi-episode thing talking about this topic.
They can't just be building a game like Star Citizen and not be thinking about server meshing at any point until that episode came up. That would be fucking stupid. At some point, they've sat down there and like, all right, so we've got to get this in. And we've got to think about server meshing. No, fuck server meshing. I'm eating raisins and we're getting this shit out.
Well, and I think you make a good point there, Shiver, because I think the people that are getting mad are dumb. Like you're sat here being like, no, seriously. You're sat here being like, I care so much about Star Citizen that I'm mad that you're just starting server meshing now. Well, dude, have you been paying attention? Clearly you don't care about Star Citizen enough to know what they've been doing for the last 3 years and know that they've been working on server meshing for 3 years. I think you're dumb. I
don't know this man. I'm not affiliated with this man or his opinions.
I do think it's really funny, even the concept that Shiver would back away from a hot take. But
I'm worried.
There's hot takes, and then there's just like everyone's dumb. No. People have a right to react the way they want to.
Yes, and some people
and you can just be like, you know what, fuck it, who cares? If they really are making an important point, and they are
Hang on,
being
Shiver.
angry about it,
Hang on,
it'll
Shiver.
be taken on board. If they're just being
Pl-
pissed off for the sake of being pissed off, no one cares.
Hang
No one
on,
should
Shiver.
care.
Plenty
Let
of
'em just
people
vent.
believe. Plenty of people believe that the mRNA vaccine does not help with COVID, and nobody should be given the vaccine. And actually, doctors who give the vaccine should be tried in federal courts and like given misdemeanors. Would you say that that's dumb? Because I think that's dumb.
I wouldn't say it was dumb. I would say it was wrong. But good luck to them, and I hope
Good
that
luck.
they go through their life and have the consequences of their own philosophy. Give me fucking vaccines. I'm just one of the most amazing inventions
Riker?
mankind has ever made is medicine. Pump me full of fucking medicine. You don't want it. You go fucking suffer over there with your germs.
Riker, the world is flat and is carried on the backs of 4 elephants that are carried on the backs of a turtle.
Isn't it
The
3
turtle
elephants?
apparently has multiple backs too, which is even scarier.
I thought it was 4.
I thought it was 3.
I thought it was 4 elephants on the back of a turtle. It's turtles all the way down.
Yeah, it's been a while now.
That is
I
that is
agree
the best
to a-
series of literature in existence. Discworld is the best literature in the world ever written. Period. Punto e basta.
It is 4 elephants.
It
Thank
is. Well done, Eris. I was wrong. I'm sorry.
It's all good. You
Oh, this is
seriously made me
also-
doubt. You
this is also-
seriously made me doubt myself for a second there.
This
No,
is also
don't.
called the. This is also called the world turtle, by the way.
I mean,
It's Atuan, the great Atuan, the world turtle, who flies through the cosmos on a never-ending journey, and the 4 elephants, who are all named, I don't remember their names, stand on his back, and they support the Discworld, which sits atop them.
yeah, people have a right to be angry, and people have a right to express that anger. People have a right to be wrong, but you could just stand and be wrong. And if someone has an actual valid point, it'll be taken on, even amongst all the vitriol. But you can just be like, nah, fuck it, I don't care. You know, because there's going to be something out there that makes anyone and everyone angry at some point, and yeah,
Like raisins, apparently.
fuck
Yeah, I mean-
raisins.
I mean,
Fuck
raisins are apparently
sultanas,
hot.
fuck currants. Dried fruit is wrong.
What about dates?
You'll have to buy me dinner.
Oh yeah, I'll buy you some raisins for a date.
That's not dinner, you fucking traitor.
Darge, that's called the vocal minority, and it's a big problem in everything.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and like, yeah, putting opinions matter. I'm not touching that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yep. Anyway, God, we're almost at time.
Yeah.
Fuck
Which
you,
is okay.
raisins.
I do actually have to leave right at 8:30 my time this time.
Yep,
But
that's fine. I
Which I was a little bit worried about because we've had a few shows this year that went until like half an hour past the end of the show.
I want to let's start the outros because nobody has any questions. So I'm going to start my long-winded, slightly annoying, gallivanting towards some sort of a seizure of streaming. I'm
That was
having a
a interesting
seizure.
sentence.
I'm having a seizure right now. Is what's happening.
Apparently.
Stroke is having a
Stroke's
David.
having a David. It's my favorite.
Raisins didn't help you with that, did they?
No. I was actually worried I was having some deep vein thrombosis earlier this week and last week. My thigh was in a lot of pain, but it seems to have settled. Thank you, Sargrath. I genuinely appreciate that. The things that I
That's why we kept him around for 8 years.
8 years. Oh god.
Despite his very strong raisin stance, we still kept him around.
Look,
I really wonder what your answer would have been if my first message to you would have been, "Hey, you want to come work with me on Star Citizen fan site for the better part of a decade?"
what was
Give you
your
a pack
first
of
message?
raisins.
I have to wonder what was your first message to me?
My first message to you, I actually remember the context of it.
Yeah.
It was basically saying that I really enjoyed your stories, which I had read, and I was hoping you would come join us, and do fiction, which is what you did at the beginning.
True.
And write fiction for INN at the time. that was our introduction.
Garbage Woman. This is all because of Garbage Woman.
Yep. It's a hell of a story. Blew my socks off.
It's one of the best things I've ever written. Anyway,
so the lesson here is, in the verse, in the future, when you're being eaten by a reclaimer, blame David.
Wait, hang on, Darge. You've been around for this long, and you haven't read Garbage Woman? Hey, Valkyrie. I'm sort of sad.
There's too much subtle raisin propaganda in it.
I think I genuinely think Garbage Woman is really good fiction.
It is. It's great.
Like, it was good. I still remember back in the day when I'd like take any ship and turn it into just the worst story. Like the merchantmen that
they were all horrific.
They were all horrifying. Like a little girl who's so excited that the merchantman is coming because that means they can get new things, and she wants a new doll, and the merchantman's coming, and then she notices that the merchantman is on fire and it crashes and kills her and her entire village.
Yep.
I kind of expected her to be waiting underneath it, and then the leg just. But okay.
No, that's a flight penis. I wasn't going to kill a child with a flight penis. I thought that it might.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, no.
Maybe she should choke on a raisin.
Oh God.
All right.
Next time you give Link raisins, you're going to be like, oh, I fucking hate you, Shiver.
Shiver. Where can we find you, and what are you doing this week?
I don't think we've got anything extra this week, but you can find me over on twitch.tv/Table of Horrors. This week we are carrying on with VTMV5, Oxford's Ashes. We've had some interesting episodes lately. Yeah, high drama, high role play, and we're very anti-raisin. Oh yeah, that's Fridays at 11:30 UTC.
Cool.
Time zones.
Time
zones are almost as bad as currents.
Eric, I know that on the 27th there's a crude Dragon launch at like 1:45 a.m. I believe.
Fun, isn't it?
Yeah, not streaming that one, but keep an eye on our Discord.
Yep.
Because at some point when the BFR, the Big Fucking Rocket, launches.
Yeah, there's gonna be a Starship launch in the next 2 months, almost guaranteed. Well, I shouldn't say almost guaranteed. Very likely, it's coming soon.
When Starship launches, we're gonna stream it. I don't care what time it is.
No, it'll be. I'm using a personal day if it's in the middle of the night. I'm fine.
Yeah, I don't care. We're streaming that one. So keep an eye on the Discord. We'll stream that when it happens. And I want to really apologize for missing last week. I really wanted to do the show.
No, I don't want you to apologize for missing last week. You're just
no. I'm going to. I know, and
Okay.
and I wanted to say that I appreciate everyone coming this week. I know that we don't do things on extremely regular schedules. We miss things a lot, and I do apologize for that. But I really appreciate that all of you do show up when we do run this, and I really do enjoy it. So thank you all so much, genuinely, for coming and hanging out and watching us. It genuine. This is one of my favorite things to do in the week, and thank you sincerely. And I really hope that you all have a great rest of your weekend and evening, and have a great week next week. And please come back next Saturday at this same time and join us again.
You know what would really improve your quality of life?
Raisins.
Cutting out raisins.
Oh, the flip side. Bye, everybody.
Bye, all.